I travel around the country a lot, and oftentimes my staff will tell you there's a sort of whole bunch of people outside protesting, and they usually are handing out, you know, pieces of paper that have all kinds of things about what I believe in, and I always wonder why people aren't actually willing to come inside, instead of standing outside and speculating about what I'm about and what I believe in. Come inside, ask me the question, let's have the conversation. And I will tell you that I am fully cognizant of the fact that I am not going to agree on many things with the people that are outside. But we can't further the conversation if we're on opposite sides of the wall. And it's interesting because I've had two experiences in the last couple of months. I went to Kansas City a few months ago and gave a speech. And the teachers union there said, come and hear Michelle Rhee speak at the public library, come and protest of her. And so 75% of the room was, you know, AFT members, and they came and they asked, you know, all the questions, and I answered them honestly. And afterwards, people were standing, you know, to get in line to get their books signed, and a lot of them came up to me and said, you know, I was here to protest you, but I listened and I actually agree with a whole lot of what you said, so can you sign my book now? And well, the interesting thing was that the teachers union president stood up and asked a question. She said, you know, I don't understand why you won't sit down with us to have a conversation, because we want to help kids. You say you want to help kids, so why don't we actually sit down and have a conversation? I was like, great, let's do it. Send the lady an email, don't get a response. Send her another email, finally 3 weeks later she responds and says, I am sorry, I cannot sit down with you to have a conversation because you believe in these things and those things are wrong. What? Last week in LA, at our first teacher town hall session that we had, there was a young woman, a student, who said, you know, well, I don't understand why you didn't, you don't have more students here. And I said, well, because it was a teacher town hall, but let's do a student town hall. I mean, I'm all about hearing student voices. You can help us coordinate it. She was like, okay. And then when I sent her the email, she sent me another email back saying, well, I don't have my name next to yours because you believe in things that I don't believe in. How is that going to help the conversation move forward at all if we believe that because somebody doesn't have the exact same opinion of you, when we shouldn't sit down? It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And so I feel like, again, you know, going back to what should happen in Birmingham once we leave, is we've got to find a way to understand we might not agree on everything, but we have to at least be in the same room at the same table to have the conversation.
We will follow up online on the Common Core. We'll have everyone kind of address that in a way that they
I
like.
am the opposition, and this was supposed to be a town hall. They know I'm here. I turned a question in. I did too.
Okay, hold on.
I would very much like to speak.
Wait. Do we have your, what's your name?
Terry Michael.
Okay. And who else?
Bobby Pearson.
Beg your pardon?
Bobby Pearson.
All right, Terry and Bobby.
I don't need my card,
I
though.
don't need.
Okay, no, I got it, hold on. So Michelle, really quickly, this is a question I think was important to be addressed. It's from Melody, and she said, Dr. Perry referred to his charter school as being funded at the same level that public schools and other public schools get funded. The question was, please define public funds and explain the difference of funds provided to charters versus public schools.
And first tell them that it's not a charter.
Right, so his school is just a traditional public school, part of the school system, etc. So in terms of charter schools, the money comes from the state and from the local district, taxpayer dollars, same as the traditional public schools, but it goes to these entities that are responsible for running the schools as opposed to going through the district. In some states, the money goes through the district first, the district takes a cut of it, and then sends the rest of it to the charter school, which we don't advocate for, but the bottom line is they are public dollars.
All right, great. So, if you can, where's Blake with the mic? Somebody have the mic? All right, Tracy, grab Terry the mic. I'm sorry, we're going overtime. Overtime, real quick, go ahead.
All right, I appreciate that you're allowing me to talk. My name is Terry Michael, and I am an advocate. I am not a teacher, and I am not an administrator. I don't have anything to do with the union. Oh, can I hold it? Oh, Okay, nice.
Terry,
So
let's get to your question, please.
I want to comment on the things you guys have been saying. You said tonight, quote,
Terry, are you going to give us a question, though? We're going over.
I have been sitting here patiently listening to you. There's some points that have to be made. If this is going to be a true town hall, then we have to have dialogue.
Terry, we're at the end of the night. If you want to ask a question.
If you close all that's bad, take yours out too, that is divisive. That is not bringing communities together. That is separating them even more. Choice isn't about what they want, it's about what they can do. So what about those kids that can't go to the other schools, that they get stuck in those failing schools that everybody else has taken a dive out of, and they can't do it? We're telling those kids in the public schools that cannot leave them for the charter schools that they're going to get less funding, they're going to have lesser teachers because they're going to have all the TFA teachers. Did y'all know in 2008, No Child Left Behind was revised to change the meaning of the high-quality teacher? That we are lowering the standards of our teachers to make TFA be a highly qualified teacher. So we're lowering our standards for our teachers, but we're going to expect them to have more rigor in the classroom.
All right,
it doesn't work that way.
Thank you. Steve Perry, you want to address that? Thank you, Terry.
Gladly.
I would like to say, I do have SOS support our students.
Terry, hold on. Steve, you're up.
School choice means the same thing as it meant when people chose the colleges they wanted to go to. Pick the school that was best for them. From the pre-K to 12, I don't think any child ever should be forced to attend a failed school, period. I think that every single child should have access to the same quality of education that our teachers do, that our administrators do, and that everyone else does. What works in conversations such as these is when people listen to what is actually said and work towards solutions that will impact children. It becomes very important when we're having a conversation around school choice to understand that there's no single choice that we're pushing. And that's vital. These notions, and I thought we covered this in the beginning, but it's all right if we got to wrap it up, because that's what you start with the objective, end with the objective, right? Now I can tell you what school choice is because I can explain that school choice is not being pro-charter, pro-magnet, I've said it, pro-neighborhood school, but in fact pro-good school. And so I am for good schools for all children. And I use the word schools as a placeholder because I don't necessarily mean just schools. I mean educational experiences. I believe that a family who decides to have at least one person stay home to educate the family is as valid in their pursuit of a degree of education as the ones who wake their children up and send them off to a building. And I believe that both of them contribute to the society just the same. And so if I want that person to have a tax credit so that they're not poor, too poor to send their family to college when they get them there, that's school choice. If that's not the choice you make, I support that. I just want you to have a choice, not to be forced into failure. See, because the zip code laws are hurting too many children. It's real easy to have a philosophical conversation when your kid is not one of the ones who's going to come in 4 grades behind because they went to a school that nobody who works at it would send their children to.
What if our choice is better public schools?
Who sends his children to the school that he starts, I understand how vital it is to see that my kids are my kids regardless of who gave birth to them. I want school choice universal for every child, regardless of where they live.
All right, thanks, Steve. All right, Michelle, we had a question from Bobby P here, which says, why can't all children go to these schools? They have lotteries and selection criteria.
Let him ask his question.
Hold up. I said nothing about lottery.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
My question is, and I have a teacher's voice, I'm one of those particular individuals that you all said would come inside. I don't have my red shirt on.
Yeah!
Excuse me.
No, I'm happy you
My question is, if we're talking about school choice and all this other information and what have you, why is it that when we have these charter schools or these schools that you're speaking of, why is it that it's not an open door policy? Why is it that you choose certain students who can go to that particular school, whereas Joe Brown's child may not be able to attend? And we're talking about children first. If we love the children and we're going to start these schools, every child should be able to attend.
That's right.
Thank you. So hold on, we're going to answer that question. I want to say, for folks that were in there earlier, this was addressed at a certain extent, but Michelle?
Yeah. So let me just say this. Dr. Perry actually said that because there is more demand for his school, for the faces of his school, that he has slots, that they hold a lottery. And the vast majority of states across this country that have charter laws, when that dynamic is in place, when they have charter laws and the charter schools don't have enough spaces for the number of kids who want to go there, they must conduct a lottery in order to determine which kids are coming in. So you can say that you don't believe it, but it is just fact. It is the way that the charter schools work. So let me just say that on the one hand. I want to also address this issue of like, well, you know, if you put these policies in place, it's so divisive. I had a situation in Washington D.C. where we had a budget crisis and we had to lay teachers off. And it was an unfortunate situation, but I decided if we are in a position where we have to lay teachers off, then I'm going to lay them off by quality instead of seniority. So, in other words, if you are a low-performing teacher, you're going to get laid off first as opposed to just last in, first out. When I made that decision and we identified 266 teachers that we were going to lay off, the politicians in the city went nuts, right? And they said, this is so divisive what you are doing. This is tearing the city apart. I can't believe that you are doing this, et cetera, et cetera. And so one of the politicians actually said, I am demanding right now that you reinstate all 266 of the wrongfully terminated teachers. And I said to him, okay, I'll tell you what. You have 4 children, none of whom attend the DC public schools. If you agree to send one of your kids back to our schools and allow me to assign them one of these ineffective teachers, then I will give that person their job back. And if you bring all 4 of your kids into the system, I'll hire 4 teachers back. If you get your uncles and your cousins and your aunts, all send your family members back to be taught by these ineffective teachers, then I will give each and every one of their jobs back. You can say, he did not take me up on that offer. So my thing is, you can talk about divisiveness all you want, but back to what Dr. Perry was saying, you are not, if you are willing to enroll your child, your own child, in a failing school, then you're allowed to be against vouchers and charters, whatever you want. But if you have your kids tucked up in a Tony private school or high-performance school somewhere, then you are not allowed to put in place policies that subjugate other people's children to a reality that you would never accept.
You're not talking to me. That's not me. You're not talking to me. That is not me. You're not talking to me.
Wait. This thing is getting way out of control. That was her final thought. Who wants to give their final thought?
I want to give my final thought on this whole issue of choice. Because as a union leader, I can tell you, I've been against vouchers, I've been against school choice, I've been against it all. And I can tell you now, realistically, as I look at children who are growing up today the way I grew up, that I don't really care what the choice is, that if you are good, our children need you. If you're a good charter, they need you. If you're a good public school, they need you. If you're a good private school, they need you. And I think often as unions, we fight against the wrong thing rather than fighting for something. And understand what I'm saying. we're fighting against choice. What we need to be doing is fighting how to control the choice. In other words, say, if we want people to attend public schools, then let's spend our time as unions and as teachers and others making the public schools so great that when parents have a choice, we know the choice they're going to choose. And so we need to be spending our time fighting for something. And that is great public schools rather than fighting against people having choice.
Dr. Perry.
The families have spoken. They're pretty clear that they want choice. Throughout the country, it's abundantly clear that if given the opportunity, most families participate in a choice program of some sort. Even the choice of living in one town, not the other, because you thought those schools were raggedy. So it's all choice. Let's just be clear. But some people are in upside down on the mortgage and can't move. Other folks are in some other situations that make it difficult for them to move, whether custody or otherwise. And so they should not be forced into failure because it's most comfortable, because it allows you to keep your job so you can send your kid to the school that you want to send your kid to. Our school has 4,710 children on the waiting list. We accepted 70. That's not because of me. That's because some people keep fighting to make sure that my school can't grow. I would make a seat for every single one and their cousins in them. That's not me that's stopping it. There's no criteria. You gotta have a name, address, and a pulse. That's it. There's no admissions process. Sign. And the number will be assigned to you. I get calls from all over the country, families saying, poor and rich, mostly poor, I will move. I will do whatever. I'll say I moved. Y'all need white kids? Jakeem is light-skinned. Parents are willing to make decision after decision. They are sacrificing. Say what you want. The ones who we seem to care most about, everybody wants to have this conversation about the poor families. Y'all don't care about the poor families because they're the ones who want choice the most. They're the ones who are using other people's addresses, changing names, doing whatever they can to get their kids up out of poverty. They get it. The same people that you said, well, they won't know which schools to choose. They seem to figure it out, didn't they? Yeah. Because all the best schools seem to have a waiting list, and they don't read papers, and they don't read data, but somebody told them at a youth football game, yo, you need to sign your kid up for that school. The streets are talking, the drums are drumming, and people know that enough is enough. Whether it's people on the far left or the far right, choice is the order of the day. That's what people want. You can try and fight all you want, try and act like you don't hear it, sit there, la, 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 la. Make you look crazy. The rest of us understand that we are in a choice time. That's what it is. I'm just telling you what it is. In Connecticut, for instance, if you just look at the students who participate in choice schools, just the ones who participate, we'd be the largest school district by far, and that's the same almost everywhere in the country. That's the same almost everywhere in the country. Our waiting list alone would make us the largest school district. You gonna keep ignoring the people who are paying for this thing? So they keep putting their names on waiting lists. No, don't worry about it. They're keeping you out. No, they are not. The school operators are not. It's the people who want to protect their jobs and the systems that are in place. What you guys don't realize, maybe some of you know Mayor Johnson missed the last shot against the, you know about that, and some other things that have happened, right? But he also opened a very successful school. 2 of them, right?
Actually, 5.
5. I was my bad. Pay attention. So, what we all understand, and do you have a waiting list?
Absolutely.
For everyone?
Everyone.
Every good school has a waiting list. The only reason we have waiting lists is because there are people standing in the way who won't let us open up more seats. I promise you, I spent all day yesterday, I spent the past 3 years trying to open up more schools. That's it. I don't want to be your superintendent. I don't want that job. It sounds silly to me. I want to run schools that the families say they want. And if you don't want mine anymore, then I'm out of business. You want it? Then we have a place for you. We call it Capital Prep. Welcome home.
Let's give it up for our three panelists.